Hey guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan. Once again, and today we're doing another comic book review. Today we're looking at Godzilla versus Fantastic Four. I think this is called Beware the King of Monsters. As you guys can see right there. This is cover A. There's some interesting covers actually for this series, but I prefer to minimize as much as I can the purchasing of variant covers, although there was one that I quite liked actually. It was the Scotty Young one. I think it's just cute to see, you know, the Fantastic Four and Godzilla as little chibi monsters, but I decided ultimately not to go with that. I'll just keep the cover A's for the whole series, and hopefully they all kind of match somewhat, right? So this book is Godzilla versus Fantastic Four. It's written by Ryan North. It has art by John Romita Jr. I know his father, John Romita Sr., passed away a few months ago, maybe. So, you know, rest in peace to Romita Sr. And I didn't dislike the choice of Romita Jr. for this. I think it's an interesting art style, although I don't necessarily like the way he draws faces, specifically the way he draws male faces. He does this weird thing where he like adds these like scratch marks across their face. They look kind of like Naruto's whiskers, but I think they're supposed to imply beard hair, like scraggly, you know, kind of beard hair, and it doesn't work for me. Something about it just doesn't really appeal to me, but I believe the reason for this choice was to tie this back into an older generation of fans, right? People that are much more interested in older stuff, right? Because Godzilla used to be part of Marvel's set of characters after... I don't remember when actually. I think it was around the same time that they had Transformers and the Micronauts and stuff like that, right? And so I think the Romita Jr. Choice was to tie that back in, and Ryan North was picked because he's the current writer of Fantastic Four, right? We also have Scott Hanna as the line artist, right? So Romita only does pencils. And then we have Mark Menez and Travis Lanham as the colorist and the letterer. And the whole team did a good job. There's this really nice title page where you get to see the name of all the, you know, creators and everyone that worked on this, and it looks really awesome. It has a very nice retro vibe to it. It almost feels like the Marvel fanfare at the beginning of the movies, right? So I thought that was a great, very inspired choice. I quite like it. But in terms of the plot line here, it opens up on the Baxter Building, telling us about the original time that Godzilla showed up in Tokyo, and the fact that the Fantastic Four, you know, heard about it and eventually did manage to get there, but by the time they did, it was actually too late at that point, right? And so Godzilla had wreaked havoc on Tokyo, and so now suddenly he is here in New York City, and the Fantastic Four are much more ready to deal with him, right? They're aware of his existence, and he's on their home turf, so they're ready to fight him. And I actually like this setup. I thought it was pretty cool. You know, when I think of Godzilla, I usually think of him attacking like the West Coast, right? Not necessarily the East Coast. But I think it makes sense that he would show up in the East Coast anyways. And obviously, most superheroes are focused in New York when you look at the Marvel world. So it makes sense. But I thought it was interesting how he shows up. At this point, when he shows up, the Fantastic Four, you know, deploy. And the first thing that they do is send the thing in. And he kind of cannonballs into Godzilla. This kind of knocks him off balance a little bit, which is interesting because I feel like the thing is not that big, right? Like he's not really that strong either, as far as I understand it. I mean, I guess he's like kind of like Hulk, but he's really more of a golem, right? So I don't necessarily think he's powerful enough to really knock Godzilla off balance, but apparently he was able to. And then Reed Richards does a kind of like, you know, Luffy-esque move. He becomes a giant, he makes a giant fist, and he punches Godzilla with it, right? And it's pretty cool. I actually really like the way that these characters interact. The Storm siblings actually do some stuff here as well, but I didn't really write it down, so I don't quite remember what it was, but I think it was mostly just crowd control, right, to try to keep it distracted. And of course, Godzilla does this, you know, classic move, and he lights up the atomic breath, and he starts shooting it out. And then when this pushes the Fantastic Four away, he moves deeper into the city, and the team have to rush back to the Baxter Building to make some changes to it so that when Godzilla crosses its path, they zap him. and the zap actually forces him back. And I guess at this point they'd managed to evacuate as much of the city as they could, or other heroes dealt with that. The problem with having so many heroes in New York is that in moments like this, you feel like they should be there, and they usually aren't. And Godzilla feels like such a big problem that maybe, he does require everyone to show up, right? Following that train of thought, it kind of makes me wonder if the Spider-Man versus Godzilla book is going to tie in with this, because I don't know if each book that deals with Godzilla versus Marvel is going to be an individual book that has nothing to do with the other one, or if it's going to be like a sequential thing, right? Spider-Man is next, I think. So I assume it will be sort of sequential, but it kind of is unclear. Or maybe it's like one story that's happening from multiple perspectives, and it's just kind of unclear. I don't really know, but it does make me wonder about that, right? And so they zap Godzilla, he falls down, and when it works and he's down, actually King Ghidorah shows up. And I thought this was cool, but maybe a bit unnecessary. Like, I get that people want to see Godzilla team up with the heroes in order to fight Ghidorah, but at the same time, focus on Godzilla. That's what you're really selling us here, right? And so to me, it felt like it really feels like they sped through the classic team up situation. And I guess part of that is because they are going to have 6 different books. Maybe this is going to happen multiple times, and so you don't necessarily always have to do it. At the same time, I feel like if this is the first one, this is the one that should be able to do all of the classic crossover event things, which means fighting and then finding a bigger opponent to fight against, right? But this could have been a three issue miniseries. It really shouldn't have been a single issue, and the fact that it was means that everything feels kind of really crunched up, and I don't necessarily like that too much. But it's not really here or there. It's too late to change this anyway. So King Ghidorah shows up, and he has the power cosmic apparently because Galactus found him on another planet. He looked at the creature. He was like, "Oh, this shit's cool." Imbued it with the power cosmic, and now King Ghidorah is a herald of Galactus, right? And so he has a very slight metallic tinge. Like, he looks slightly less gold than he normally would. And I guess that's clear, but maybe there could have been something else that could have been done to kind of show him being, a herald that was a bit clearer. And this is when Silver Surfer shows up. Apparently he's been banished to Earth, and he actually imbues his own power cosmic into Godzilla, and it hurts him a lot, but he manages to do it. Godzilla gets a little bit of a shiny exterior as well, and so Godzilla and King Ghidorah start fighting, right? And the Fantastic Four help Godzilla fight him by distracting King Ghidorah. They get Sue to do kind of like a One Piece thing. Like, okay, so in One Piece, there's this character called Nami. She's like the third member of the crew, and she's kind of like one of the main female characters, right? And her abilities deal with the weather. And so one of the things that she can do is use her Climatech, which is this special pole that she has, and she can use it in order to control the weather around her in certain ways, right? And in one of her biggest finds that she's ever had, she uses it to create mirages, right? And so in a similar vein, Sue Storm does the same thing here. And when she does, she creates a version of the thing that looks gigantic, the same size as King Ghidorah and Godzilla. And when he does this, they use Johnny and Reed's powers in order to simulate an attack. And this distracts King Ghidorah enough that Godzilla can show up, grapple him, and then actually steal the power cosmic from him, right? It's kind of unclear how this happens, but they manage to do this. And then Godzilla returns the power cosmic to Silver Surfer, and he goes back into the ocean. And more will happen in the future, but it's kind of unclear how this is going to relate or break down across each issue. My understanding is that each issue is separate. However, that's not really clear, and it actually kind of makes me a bit upset that it is. I feel like this could have been a 12-issue miniseries that could have been really well planned, that could have incorporated everyone. Maybe the Fantastic Four are the first ones to really, interact with Godzilla, but then moving on from there, you could have, the Asian superhero teams. I forgot what they're called. Arrow and Swordmaster and all those characters, right? White Fox. Interact with Godzilla first, maybe, and then he moves to New York for whatever reason, and then you have all of the big characters show up and fight him, right? But that's not what they chose to do. They chose to do these separate things, right? Where each kind of division of Marvel basically exists separately. And so you have Fantastic Four, and then you have Hulk, and then you have Spider-Man, and then you have the X-Men, and then you have the Avengers, I think, and then something else, right? And I don't necessarily dislike this. I think it's fine, but it really feels like they should have done what DC is doing, right? And DC is doing a second series, right? So they're gonna have a 16-issue run of DC versus Godzilla, and that'll be cool. Although they're doing it from a different kind of setup, right? I think this is the Toho Godzilla, whereas the DC one is a legendary Godzilla, right? So I don't know. It really doesn't make too much of a difference, but I feel like it could have been done better. I think that there could have been a better way to make this work, and it kind of sucks that it works the way it does, but at the same time, I did enjoy this issue. I thought it was enjoyable, it was cool, it was fun. The artwork isn't necessarily my favorite, but most of it was good anyways. There's some issues here and there with the coloring that maybe wasn't my favorite, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Overall, this is a pretty great issue. I'm definitely gonna get more of them. The only major complaint that I have, besides the fact that I would have preferred this to be a single, massive, universe-spanning series, is the fact that most of the covers aren't really that good. They do a lot of them, but they're not really my favorite, and I think that this is mostly due to the fact that Marvel's pen of artists is just inferior to DC's, right? And that's kind of how it goes. Sometimes I think DC is a bit better about paying its artists, or maybe artists care more about Batman and Superman and Wonder Woman than they do many of the Marvel characters. I don't really know what the point is or why the reason this is, but it's pretty clear that DC has better artists, and that is reflected across the covers that are being made, right? And across the actual books that we get. So, it is what it is. And those are my thoughts on Godzilla versus Fantastic Four and a few other things beyond that kind of fall out of the scope, but I thought were important to bring up. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought. Thank you guys very much once again, and see you guys later.